Hey guys, I thought I would try something a little bit different this week for math, and you are more than welcome to tell me if you like it better this way or if you would rather me try something different. I'm totally open to all of those things, so make sure that you are giving me feedback and letting me know what you like best about how I've been teaching math, because math is a little bit more challenging than some of the other things we're doing through video. So just stay with me today and we will see if we want to continue this way for the rest of the week. So you all keep an open mind as you go through today's math lesson. So today we're talking about time. And how do we measure the time in a day? We use a clock, right? And we measure the hours, we measure the minutes, and even sometimes we measure the seconds using a stop clock or stopwatch. So you can think, okay, well, about how long is an hour? Well, it's about the amount of time that we have recess and lunch, and then we're back in the classroom, right? And then you can think about that compared to how long a minute is. It's a lot different, right? So what we're going to be talking about today is how to tell time on what's called an analog clock. And a lot of analog clocks don't exist anymore. We had one in our classroom when we were there, right? But a lot of the clocks you all see now just tell you exactly that it is, 10:21. And you don't have to look at the numbers involved to figure out what time it is. So what we're going to learn today is how to figure those things out. So you should have out your math textbook, and we are turning to page 60. So you should be turning to page 60 in your math textbook. And when you do, you should see a big number 5 at the top of the page, and you should see the word time with a cute little ant. He's going to teach us about time. So we'll talk a little bit more about what time is. Now, it says telling time. Mr. Lee's family has dinner at 7:05 p.m. What time do you have dinner? Now, you all may have dinner at a totally different time than they do, but down at the bottom of the page, it shows us what 7 o'clock looks like on an analog clock. So you can see that the smaller hand is pointed towards the 7, and the longer hand is pointed towards the 12. And the longer hand there represents the minutes, and the shorter hand represents the hour. So whenever that minute hand is on the 12, it lets us know that it is an even hour. It is exactly 7 o'clock. Well, then it gives us that little red arrow, and it points over to that other clock, and part of the clock is colored in blue, and that is showing us what 7:05. So they're 5 minutes into their dinner, and it says 7:05. Well, we can also see that down below it says 5 minutes past 7. So there are different ways that we can say a time. We can write it out, 7 with the colon there, that's the 2 dots, then 05, or even 7 o'clock, we could say 7 o'clock, or when it's written out, it's 7 with a colon and 00. So what we're going to be focusing on for our assignment tomorrow is writing these specific times in different ways. So you can look over at page 61, and we're going to talk about as we move around the clock from 9 o'clock until almost 10 o'clock. Okay, so at the top of the page, you can see what the clock looks like when it's exactly 9 o'clock. So our hour hand, the hour is shorter and the minutes is longer, okay, which is actually kind of the opposite, right? Because minutes are shorter and hours are longer. So just remember that it is the opposite. And, something I could really add in here is that the word hour is actually shorter than the word minutes. So that always helps me to remember that the minute hand is longer than the hour hand. Okay, so the little girl there, she said, we read 9:15 at 9:15, or as 9:15. And then she says, it is 15 minutes after 9 o'clock. So whenever you look at that second clock there down below, it says it is 15 minutes past 9. Or you could also say 9:15. And remember, this is something you all have learned in the past, but it's worth me mentioning again, right? That each of these numbers on our clock represents 5 minutes. So the 1 is 5. Well, actually, this 12 is 0. So we start at 12 and that's 0. The 1 is 5. The 2 is 10. The 3 is 15. The 4 is 20. And so on, right? You can count around the clock by 5s to figure out which number they represent. And let me tell you this too. Since we have practiced our multiplication tables of 5, if you know that 5 times 3 is 15, you don't even have to count up how many minutes it is. Your brain will just automatically say, oh, 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, so that's another way that your brain may relay that information to you. So you can say 9:15, or we could also say it is 15 minutes past 9. Well, right below that, it's showing us it is 20 minutes past 9, 9:20. Below that, it is 30 minutes past 9, or 9:30. Or we could also say half past 9, because we are halfway to the next hour. And then last on that page, it says it is 15 minutes to 10. Now, I want you all to look at this one because it is 15 minutes until 10, but we don't write it that way, right? They have it written as 9:45. So how do you all figure that? How many minutes are there in 1 hour? Does anyone know? There are 60 minutes in 1 hour, and 15 less than 60 is 45. So once we hit that 45-minute mark, not only is it 9:45 or 45 minutes past 9, now we've reached the point that we are 15 minutes to 10. So down there at the very bottom of the page, it says 9:45 is 45 minutes after 9 o'clock, and 9:45 is 15 minutes before 10 o'clock. Okay, so keep that in mind as we are looking through these clocks. Okay, you all can turn the page now to page 62, and I only have number 1 up on the screen. I've made it a little bigger for you guys so that you could see it a little bit more clearly. And it says 1 o'clock, right? And so this is what we did on the very first page. So the very first page we talked about in our textbook today, it says 1 o'clock. And then it has the arrow and it says 1:05. Right, y'all can see that the hour comes before the colon and the minutes come after the colon. So then it has a little blank there and it says, how many minutes past 1? So how many minutes is it showing us past 1? 5 minutes, right? Good job. Okay, so B says 2 o'clock, and then it's showing us 2:30. So how many minutes is that past 2 o'clock? And it even is doing us the favor of showing us how far that minute hand moves from 12 down to 6. How many minutes past 2 is it? 30. Good job. All right. So here's C and D. So first let's look at C. It says 4:45. How many minutes is that to 5 o'clock? How many minutes? Look at that minute hand there. How many minutes until we get to 5 o'clock? So you can start at 9 and count each number up to 12. So we can count that 10 would be 5, 11 would make 10, and then the 12 makes 15. That lets us know that it is 15 minutes to 5 o'clock. Very good. And then D on this page, it says 6:55. How many minutes to 7? How many minutes until it is 7 o'clock? This one makes it a little bit easier for us, right? How many minutes is represented there, or are represented? 5 minutes, right? It is 5 minutes until 7 o'clock. Very good. Now, what I'm going to do is I want you all to, here in just a minute, not yet, on page 63, I want you all to pause this video, and you are going to, on a separate piece of paper or maybe even on a whiteboard, I want you all to look at all 6 of these clocks on the screen or on page 63. You can even look at page 63 in your math textbook and write down what number is displayed on each of these clocks. Now, there are a few things I need to tell you all before moving on to working through this on your own. Now, I know you all have heard this in the past, but you haven't focused on it too much. So, I want you all to pay close attention to the fact that when the hour hand is specifically on the number and the minute hand is perfectly on the 12, they line up absolutely perfect. So that hour hand is pointing directly at whatever hour it is. Well, as we get farther along into the hour, it moves between the hour. So as you can see, the little boy, he's sitting at the table. He's eating, it looks like he's eating, maybe he's eating dinner, right? Or eating breakfast. So yeah, he's eating breakfast, right? So the hour hand ends up between the 6 and the 7. So how do we know if it's 6 or 7 o'clock if it's in between the two numbers? Well, here's your hint, and I'll remind you all of this as we go on. But you know which hour it is by the number it has already passed. If the hour hand has not reached the next number yet, then it is not that hour yet. When it turns exactly 7 o'clock, the minute hand will be on the 12, and the hour hand will be perfectly on the 7. Until then, it has not turned 7 o'clock yet. So keep that in mind as you are working through these clocks and writing down your answers. I want you all to make sure you have these written down on something so that you can show your parents that you've worked through these. And I will be posting another video of reviewing each of these clocks and talking about them a little bit more with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope to be able to even make this better next time if you all enjoyed having pictures rather than seeing me the whole time. Or maybe you enjoy that. I don't know. But you all tell your parents what you like best. Give me the feedback, and I am happy to do whatever is most enjoyable for you all. So good luck on this. You can stop the video now and work through each of these clocks. Good luck.